Gets analysis now from Omar Baddar. He's the member of the Arab American Institute's National Policy Council. Thank you so much for being with us on the program, Omar. I first want your thoughts on the situation along the Strait of Hormuz, how much pressure this is putting on Donald Trump, and of course, the exchange of threats that we're seeing between U.S. and Iranian officials.
Yeah, it's a very incredibly serious situation. I mean, we're already in an unprecedented regional crisis at the moment, and we are simply on the path towards escalation. That is the only thing that is available at this point, heading us towards a regional catastrophe. Obviously, the Straits of Hormuz are absolutely critical for the world economy, for access to energy. And the fact that we have the standoff right now with nobody having the option to back down simply points us towards further escalation. You know, the ironic thing here is that neither the United States nor Iran want this war. Iran never wanted this war in the first place, and we can see that Trump is right now scrambling, looking for an out, saying we're towards the end, backing down from some of his maximalist demands of what an end to that war would require. But unfortunately, we're held in a pattern right now where it seems like after Israel tried to drag every American president into engaging in this war for them, Donald Trump was the only one dumb enough to actually fall for that plot, as at this point has become confirmed by nearly every senator who attends any of the briefings, most recently Senator Chris Murphy in the United States, saying that every justification for this war has fallen apart, and the only thing left to conclude is that Israel forced our hand into getting into this simply a situation that is very, very difficult to get out of. And we are unfortunately heading towards in a path of escalation, because it is nearly impossible to imagine that anybody would back down from the standoff that we have right now.
Trump had said ending this war would be a mutual decision with Netanyahu. Do you think Netanyahu and Trump are on the same page at this moment? Because we do know that Israel, and the U.S. for that matter, were eager to see regime change.
I mean, the only country that has an interest in this going on is Netanyahu. And if Trump says that that decision is going to be mutual, basically then there is not going to be a decision to end this war. That is just the reality of the situation that we're in. For Israel, they cannot afford to end this war without a complete shift in Iran's posture. And from Iran's perspective, at this point, you know, having had their civilian infrastructure destroyed, having had their oil storage facilities bombed and oil refineries, black smoke filling up the air in the capital city, black rain raining down on the population that is going to cause untold misery for who knows how long in terms of the health impact of all of this. Schools bombed, fresh water supplies bombed. For Iran, this is pretty much a fight for their life at this stage. And they've known the cost of accepting ceasefires in the past. They would not fall for the same thing again and again. Every time they've accepted a ceasefire, Israel has basically used it to regroup and decide to launch again. And if Iran accepts a ceasefire at this stage, it's simply going to be a weakened version of its former self. It is the same Iran with the same sanctions imposed on it and with a degraded military, and they would be sitting ducks for the next round of this, which is why I think Iran is going to be committed to continuing this conflict until something fundamental changes. Again, the amount of death and misery that is almost inevitable at this stage is really horrifying to kind of consider. But yeah, Trump tying his decision to Netanyahu is a recipe for this conflict to last for a very, very long time.
One thing that Iran is receiving backlash for from regional leaders is for attacking the assets and the bases of the U.S. in the GCC, and it's had the leadership there eager to boost their defense capabilities. But in the meantime, they're feeling the effects of this war heavily. If this drags on, are they going to just continue to condemn the attacks, or do you think they will actively participate alongside the U.S.?
You know, this for Iran has been a very double-edged sword. On the one hand, it is obvious why it is extremely unwise to antagonize anybody in the region who are more or less trying to take a neutral stance at this point. By attacking these countries, you are making the possibility of better relations in the future infinitely worse and risking the possibility that there is going to be some sort of joint effort. On the other hand, from Iran's perspective, they also see that to not engage these countries in any kind of meaningful pressure, to reconsider hosting American military bases, American military personnel that are on the doorstep of Iran and are able to launch attacks on Iran because of that military presence, seems also to be equally costly. And I think they're taking a very huge gamble by engaging the way that they are. But at this point, we've seen that these countries have resisted getting dragged into an all-out confrontation because they know the costs of doing so are going to be massive. It is already a hit to their economy, already a hit to tourism in these countries, already a hit to their infrastructure. The fact that these hits are happening and the fact that there are lives lost, and if they get engaged in that war in a full-fledged way, I think the damage is going to be practically irreversible at that point, because we're going to see infinitely greater devastation. It's a very, very high-stakes gamble on the part of Iran, and it's going to be difficult to know which way this is going to get. But at this point, Iran seems to be gambling that what they're hoping to get out of this is increased pressure from these governments in the region on the United States to find an out for the standoff that we find ourselves in.
Okay, Omar Baddar, I always appreciate your analysis. Thank you for being with us.